DeleteLawZ cruises Hollywood Boulevard looking for a single cop who will take on his quest. Kidman courts controversy at the Ventura County Library. Floyd Wallace tries to pick up young girls at Texas A&M University. Did he escape without getting arrested? You'll find answers on this edition of Auditing Insanity. Hello and welcome to this Sunday Go Team edition of the Auditing Insanity Newscast. We've got stories on Katie Kidman, Chili DeCastro, and Floyd Wallace tonight. We're not lingering, so we ask you to focus on... DeleteLawZ propositions cops on Walk of Fame. Jose Chili DeCastro returned to Hollywood Boulevard in Los Angeles late Saturday night to proposition police officers to abandon their use of torture cuffs and be the first champions of his cause to replace cuffs with his digital detainment system. Looking older than his 50 years should make him look, DeCastro sauntered up to a police officer who was watching his partner handle two men during a traffic stop on Hollywood Boulevard. DeCastro exchanged idle chit-chat with the man, asking him about his motivation for joining the police and his expectations from the job. The officer said he grew up watching police shows on TV and thought being a cop would bring him the same sort of experiences. Alas, he said that most police work is administrative and simple tickets, with none of the excitement he expected from what he had seen in the media. DeCastro pounced on the dullness presented by the man and began his rehearsed approach, telling the man that he could provide an alternative with his ideas on digital detainment. When the man seemed to take an interest in his pitch, DeCastro pressed further, making eye contact with the police officer and suggesting that the officer take the idea to his superiors. When the officer declined the idea, DeCastro pressed on, telling the man that it only takes one man to stand up to oppression, and that he should be the one person to end the oppression for everyone. The officer again rebuffed DeCastro's advances, saying that DeCastro should present his ideas at a public forum, city council, or try to approach the higher-ups within the police force. His heart sinking, DeCastro engaged with the two men who were pulled over by the police officers after the men asked DeCastro to stop filming. He explained that he had the right to film anything he could see in public, and that they should be thanking him for documenting what was going on in case the police were to act badly. Returning to the police officer, DeCastro's hopes sank again, as the officer admitted he was only listening to DeCastro's ideas to be nice, and that he wouldn't be acting on DeCastro's ideas further. Crushed, DeCastro turned his attention to the other police officer, who also rebuffed his advances a bit more forcefully. DeCastro got the business card of the first police officer before retreating from the scene, and promising that he'd do his next live for the night on his DeleteLawZ Clips channel, which he would be relying more on now that his main channel was dying. He never followed up on the video. Saturday's action did nothing to spark the market, as DeCastro saw no new donations to his various GoFundMes, continuing the pattern of apathy from the market to anything involving him. On that note, if you'd like to keep us from feeling the sheer power of apathy, we'd be remiss if we didn't remind you that you can continue to force the discount cat collector and known yellow bird, Jim Finch, to keep writing this dreadful column each day by contributing to the GoFundMe run by this very channel. All proceeds go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing new stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. Kidman audits Ventura County Library. It was more of the same for fans of Kidman as she posted her audit of the Ventura County Library this week, promising controversy but delivering anything but as she slowly ambled her way through the building. Controversy was expected but never found as Kidman entered the building and walked past a worker who was retrieving returned books before going into a long and bizarre rant about Scientology versus Christianity. Kidman explained that her sister, a Scientologist, had apparently disconnected from her on the orders of the church. Disconnection is loosely explained as severing of all ties, because the person is a threat to the spiritual well-being of either the church member or the church itself. The YouTuber continued her rant against Scientology as she went to the library's bookstore in search of Bibles, proclaiming that only angels and the Christian God are real and nothing else is, including aliens. Finding no Bibles, she found her way to the library's religious books, where she denounced Scientology for having 7 commandments instead of 10, and for not believing in the Christian God or Jesus Christ. The rest of the audit was fairly uneventful, with Kidman interjecting controversy where there was none, including telling her fans that the people working the checkout desks were offended that she was recording, and later claiming that one of the women was offended by her recording through the window of the woman's office. Otherwise, no one cared that Kidman was recording, no one interfered with her, as she wandered through the facility, mumbling to herself, including in areas marked quiet and no talking. She left the library a bit befuddled and promised more audits in the future. Floyd Wallace approaches college girls at Texas A&M University. YouTuber Floyd Wallace went live multiple times on Friday and Saturday, which culminated in Wallace accepting a $100 donation to cold approach college-aged young women at Texas A&M University in College Station, Texas. Wallace spent a good portion of an hour wandering around the college campus, approaching random women with the lines, "Excuse me, miss, I have a question. What is your name?" From there, he mumbled and stumbled until he got out that he was doing a social experiment and was in search of each woman's personal Instagram. He received around 5 Instagram contacts to about a dozen rejections, including a clearly underage redhead who turned down Wallace's advances as she had a girlfriend. Others offered a variety of answers, including one who Wallace later said gave him attitude and was uglier than her friend, who he really wanted to approach. The YouTuber didn't seem to be interested in any of the women that he encountered, including little attempt to actually interact with each woman, strangely shaking their hands at the end of most encounters if it was positive, and offering no further intentions toward contacting them. In the live stream that followed, he explained that he only asked for Instagram and not the women's home phone numbers, as he was afraid of being falsely accused of doing more than approaching the women. He also claimed that his chest-worn camera made the women feel more at ease, as they knew he was recording the encounter. Responding to criticism that he did not cold approach in a so-called black area, Wallace was frank that he simply wasn't paid enough to do so. He said he'd need at least $200 to approach black women rather than the fairly safe college girls at Texas A&M University. Wallace's live stream turned to the subject of prostitution or pay for play. Wallace admitted that he had used the services of prostitutes at least 10 times in his life, and that white women were more laid back, while black women were more demanding and made him rush through encounters. He said that he once had a condom break during intercourse with a prostitute, and he wound up catching an easily treatable STD, but justified finishing the sex act as he was in there anyway. Also taking on the topic of getting a sex worker pregnant, Wallace expressed fear of this happening in a nation outside of the United States, as he didn't want to be tied down. He eventually said, "I guess I would support the kid," when faced with the possibility of being a father. The YouTuber later returned to the idea of women scamming him while he was overseas, saying that female scammers always had a dramatic story to share to loop men into their stories, and that one woman faked her own death and blamed it on Wallace refusing to give her money. Wallace is expected to return to live streaming later today. And we're back. It's another short one tonight as we're recording at halftime, and go team, and we'll probably be a little late tonight. Hope everyone is having a fantastic Sunday, and we'll see you again tomorrow.